Welcome back. How's everybody doing today? Once again, comment down below how God has blessed you today. And once again, I will tell you how God has blessed me. He's blessed me by giving me a good night's rest. A good night's rest. As of recently, it's been very hard for me to sleep and sleep well, but I have been able to just rest. You'd be so surprised what that means and how it feels to just get good rest, but I've got some amazing rest. All right, so today we're gonna be wrapping up, this whole ideology and thought process of trusting God's timing, and you know, peace through the hard times. And how we're gonna be doing that is gonna be a little bit different than how I've been speaking recently, because today I will be specifically talking about my personal thoughts and opinions of where, how, and why Christians go wrong in not being able to do those two other things. So the title of this video is gonna be called, as you can see, is I am not God's boss. Now, what does that mean? I mean, pretty simple. I'm not God's boss. So I'll get into my personal ideology and thought process behind what I mean by that. So a lot of times, us as Christians, we expect that just because we're Christians means God's gonna work on our timing, and that when we tell God to do something, He's gonna do it for us. It's like, and we expect it of Him, and it's like, first of all, to me, it's like that's just mind-boggling how we as Christians can even think like that, because, like, that's God. That's the Lord of Lords, King of Kings, and I was like, me personally, it's like I'm not gonna go to a president or king and demand his presence, first of all, and I'm not gonna demand him to do something for me in the first place. And then on top of that, I'm not gonna expect him to listen to what I'm saying. It's like, where do we get off thinking that's okay? Is like my biggest question. Is like, where do we think that's okay? I don't get it, nor do I understand it. But for some reason, us as Christians think it's okay to demand God, the Lord of Lords, King of Kings, the Most High, to come into our presence and do something when we tell him to. It's like, how on earth does that even make sense? Like, it genuinely doesn't. It's like, well, what are you talking about? And then it's like, on top of that, it's like, where in the Bible has that ever gone well? Like, this is my biggest question. I mean, there's some examples. Just let me think. Like, where has it gone well anywhere in the Bible where someone demanded the Lord to do something for them? It just doesn't make sense. Um, you know, uh, it's like, at the end of the day, God moves in His own time, and God blesses us when He decides to bless us. We can't force it out of Him. We can't say, "Hey, God, you're gonna do this for me." Um, it doesn't make sense. And it's like, the way I think about it is like, we can be loyal and faithful and receive blessings when God deems it so. It's like, we can be loyal and faithful and receive blessings when God deems it so, but we can't stop believing just because we didn't get the blessing we expected to receive, or we didn't get the blessing that we demanded. It's like, oh, I'm gonna pray for a brand new car. I don't get the brand new car. Oh God, you hate me. You don't. It doesn't make sense. Because is that true love? Is that true faith? Is that true loyalty? Like, how does that? How to me? Tell me how that makes sense. Because if any of y'all can tell me how it makes sense, then I'll say, first of all, if you can tell me how it makes sense and show me where in the Bible it makes sense to think that way, then I will hands down admit that I'm wrong about everything I think about, trusting and believing in God, and my ideas of what it's like to have faith and loyalty. But you have to show me in the Bible where it makes sense and to prove that I'm wrong in my thinking when it comes to trusting and being loyal. Um, but yeah, anyways. And a good example is like imagine if your friends were only your friends when you gave them something. Or if your wife left you as soon as the going gets tough. It doesn't make sense, right? It's like, cause is that true loyalty from your friends? Is that true friendship right there? It's like, why do you have to buy friendship? It doesn't make sense. You shouldn't have to buy friendship. You shouldn't have to buy love from your wife. It's like, because I love my wife. I love her so much, and I love her very much. But when the time gets rough, she doesn't go run off and leave me. It's like we've had a few pretty rough days, but she doesn't just go off and leave me just because we're having a rough time. No, you know what she does? She says, Samuel, I love you. You're my husband, and I'm going to trust you. And it's my job as a husband to give that back to her. Anyways, that's a complete different rant about marriage, but that's a different thing. But in the same way though, God doesn't move on our time. And like I said, would you think your wife loved you if she left as soon as something went wrong? Comment down below. If you think that your wife loves you if she leaves you when something goes wrong, then tell me why and how that's true love. Yeah, it's like to the friend thing. It's like your friends. If you have to buy their friendship, my most loyal friends, my best friends, the people who stood beside me on my wedding day, not once did I ever feel like I had to buy something for them to be my friends. That's just something to think about. It's like, why do you have to buy your friendship? It doesn't make sense. And in the same way, God shouldn't have to buy our trust. God shouldn't have to buy our faith. God shouldn't have to buy anything we do. And it's like we can't demand something from God, and I can't tell God to do something for me because I am not his boss. The best way to sum it up, and the way I think about it, is God doesn't work for me, I work for God. Just in the same way I believe we didn't choose God, God chose us. To me, both of those go very hand in hand. And I just want to know, like, if all of that I said about a friend and a wife is true, then tell me how much worse it feels for God, the person who sent his son, sacrificed his son for us, the person who um goes the whole 9 yards for us, the person who leaves the 99 for us, constantly day in and day out. How much do you think it hurts him whenever you decide to say, I don't trust you anymore, I don't believe in you anymore, I don't do any of this anymore because you didn't do something when I told you to? It's like, how much do you think that hurts him? All you parents out there, I have a question for y'all. Imagine what it would be like if one of your kids said you're not their parent anymore because you didn't do something when they told you to. First of all, you probably would sit there and look at them like, "Are you crazy? I'm your parent. Who are you speaking to like this?" And then second of all, it deep down it hurts because you had just went and worked 8 hours a day every day for the past 2 weeks just to get that paycheck, to get their bill, to make sure that they have somewhere to live, to make sure that they have somewhere to sleep. It's like you just did all of that, yet because you didn't do something when they told you to, for some reason you're no longer their parent. How do you think God feels? It just doesn't add up, right? It's like the amount of work that God does just for us to say, oh, you're not this anymore because you didn't do something when I told you to, it does not make sense. It doesn't. There's nothing y'all can tell me where I'll be sitting there like, yeah, you're right. So these are all my personal thoughts and opinions of the last two topics that we have talked about, and I think it's a good way to sum it up. I do plan my next video. I do plan to tell my testimony. Um, and that's what I think I'm gonna do is tell my full testimony, tell how I found God and how I came to be a believer. If you're interested in that, drop a subscription and drop a like. And in the comments below, tell me something that y'all would enjoy speaking about. Other than that, have a God blessed day.